Hello. Now, what about Boris, as ever? I think there's lots and lots of questions about what he may have done, what he may not have done, whether he knew or whether he didn't know that what he was attending was a drinks party. In a way, the issue has to be who cares? And I'll get back to this all much later. Who cares? Because his authority has now been so eroded, he cannot continue, certainly until the next election. That is a fact. That is a fact. It's well, you don't need any proof of it. It's demonstrable. It's a demonstrable fact. He cannot continue to the next election. So it's a matter of when he goes. He can't go immediately, I think, and I think the Conservative High Command is recognising that because there isn't a natural leader left to take over. Rishi Sunak has blotted his copybook in a magnificently stupid way by building a swimming pool, a very expansive swimming pool at his palatial home at a time when he was trimming money for the very poorest. You can't do these two things at the same time and expect to be patted on the back. Patted on the back like Dominic Raab while he was sunning himself in Crete during the Afghan crisis, when we had to get Afghans out of Afghanistan, and we failed. We failed absolutely. This led to a number of resignations, but not all the right ones. Priti Patel, this extraordinary Dalek-type mind, needs to go. She just needs to go. Exterminate, exterminate, I must go, I must go, I must go. Well, go. It really is time for her to be gone. So how do we deal with all this? Dominic Cummings, this man who went off to Barnard Castle to test his eyesight, this man who single-handedly wrecked the spirit of the first lockdown, this man is now making pronouncements about Boris Johnson, who effectively sacked him. This is peak in a monumental way. And of course, Boris ought to have anticipated this. Boris ought to have been clever enough to know that when you sack somebody, they're going to get their revenge, particularly somebody as tiny-minded as this extraordinary man. This extraordinary man. What's he said now? He said, Boris knew it was a drinks party, 'cause he was told it was a drinks party, and it was actually a drinks party. Well, if I tell somebody something, it doesn't mean they know it. As a school teacher, I'm fully aware that when I tell somebody something, they don't necessarily know it, nor do they necessarily hear what I've said. They may nod in agreement. It doesn't mean they've taken in what I've said. The same thing could be true of Boris. In fact, I know it's true of Boris. Boris very rarely hears anything anybody else is saying. He's loaded with his own thoughts. We might say he's loaded with his own self-importance, but that's another matter. And that may also be true. Johnson, we know, believed implicitly that it was a work-related event, and I see no reason why Cummings' statement that Johnson knew it was, Johnson had been told it was a works party, and that it actually told that it was a drinks party, and that it actually was a drinks party. I don't see any reason why, at the same time, even if he'd been told this, he couldn't believe it was a work-related event. Now, 6 Conservatives have so far called on Boris specifically to resign. I think that's not the great force which will see him resign. Sue Gray may have a response in a few days' time, which may leave a resignation. My hunch is it won't. And inside number 10, Boris apparently is planning two things. Number one is an operation called Save Big Dog, and number two is another operation called Operation Red Meat, to rush out popular policies to boost the reputation of Big Dog, of Boris. Now, I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong to rush out a lot of policies in order to boost his reputation in the Conservative ranks. This is the approach of Priti Patel. We know Priti Patel is fairly foolish. And we know this approach doesn't work because you rush out policy initiatives and they never take place. This is exactly what Priti Patel does. I hesitate to say, but I have this awful feeling that Priti Patel might actually be advising our Prime Minister. That would be a disaster for him and for the country. The less Priti Patel advises, the happier I think we shall all be. No. Boris's only job, as the embers glow in finality, as the fire burns to its conclusion, as his job fizzles out because there is no alternative, Boris's only job now is to get rid of the dross he has assembled in the cabinet. That is Priti Patel, Dominic Raab, he of slap on a bit of number 10, Mr. Gove, the man who openly admits to being a criminal, and to taking Class A drugs, Rishi Sunak, the man who built his swimming pool, while at the same time taking money off the poorest in our society. All of these people are smeared with various degrees of inefficiency, of sleaze, or of contempt for the ordinary people they represent. And we need new blood in office, and new blood that has experience of office before Boris goes. That is his mission. That is the only good he can now do before he goes. And I hope he pays attention to that and does it. Because trying to salvage anything else, that won't work.